Hello, and welcome to Antoine Remar Painting a Still Life. These are my thoughts on painting. Duh, 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 duh. Thank you. But in other news, here I am just laying in a sketch. I don't always lay in a sketch, but obviously it helps with the composition. It helps you kind of realize where you're going to put things. And in this painting, I'm trying to make this flower kind of fall on my bottom left third. It's starkly more colorful than the other elements of the painting, which I also kind of work to emphasize, as you'll kind of see later. So just planning it out a little bit and getting it all in order. I have a really cool old reflective tray that I got like at an antique shop or a thrift store or something that I've been meaning to use in more still life paintings. And I still haven't really come up with a composition to like include the whole tray, but it's got this great kind of reflective sheen to it, kind of mocking silver or something like that. And I really enjoy different metal textures, especially in the same paintings. They're kind of juxtaposed to one another. I have to come up with my easel in my studio, which is kind of our Florida room outside porch, is right up against the wall. So I don't really have any room, or I haven't really made enough room or set up my easel in a way where I can have a still life, 10 feet in front of me or 5 feet in front of me, so I can observe it from a slight distance. So when I do a still life, I literally just like set up something small, not even like 2 feet to my left, which is probably not the greatest. It's okay. It just allows me to do little still lifes. So in this case, that's kind of what I'm doing. So I'm washing in color to get it a general local tone. Even as you can see, I'm putting in the flower right now. That yellow seems extremely bright. I unfortunately didn't take any reference of the actual still life, but that's way better, because then you can't judge me based on the literal nature of my reference. But it really is incredibly stark and colorful compared to everything else, being that it's kind of metal and drab, and I have kind of a cool light on everything. So I'm putting in a wash to get the local tones right. It's just a little bit of mineral spirits and the pigment, and I like it to get kind of tacky because I'll be going over it with more layers, obviously, as the painting progresses. As I start to get the white of the canvas covered, I'll kind of start to add maybe a little bit of linseed oil as a thinner, and then just by the end, mostly just direct paint. But just keeping in mind as I go about adding paint to the surface that, of course, it's going to get more and more slick as you add more and more oil, unless you're taking a full 24-hour break in between every little bit of painting. So I want it to have a nice wet into wet feel, to where I can get blended edges, but I also don't want it to be so slick that every time I apply the brush to the surface, I'm getting a muddled mixture of whatever paint I have on my bristles and whatever paint I'm going to go on top of. So just keeping that in mind. Getting the background in. A lot of times I've left out the background, and it's just I'll leave it out until the end or further on in the process, and it's a good practice to make sure you get it in as quick as possible, because then you can really judge your colors and relative value structure with a higher degree of accuracy if you know what your background is. So even though it's not a focal point, it's very helpful in judging the degree of contrast and values in your other areas of interest. This vase is full of all kinds of texture, not to mention it has some like ornamental etchings on it as well, and I'm not really putting as much detail in it as it has in real life. It would kind of almost need its own painting, which, yeah, it could have been warranted here because it's all rather monochromatic, but quite frankly, I just didn't have the patience to do it in this kind of 9x12 quick sketch, and the flower was really my point of interest, so I was just trying to keep it a little more simple as to what I was going for. I'm slowly kind of scumbling around. I'm sorry about the crop. It got cropped out and I missed the top of the jar, which it's kind of a bummer, man. There's not much going on up there other than you saw me getting the ellipses right for the mouth of the jar, but you're not missing out too much. I'm playing with the edges here, trying to get this vase to not command too much attention. I wish I could have said I got it done in fewer brush strokes, or that it fell together nicely, but sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle, and you just got to work through it. And so here I am just kind of going back and forth and correcting ellipses and just trying to get the dimensionality of the form to read correctly, which just takes observation, taking a look, stepping back, taking a look, stepping back, critically analyzing your reference to your painting, back and forth, playing a little bit with some color complements here. The yellow echoes into the reflection of the flower and a little bit into the vase. And then I started to play with a little bit more purple tones in the background, and that seemed to really make it sing. The edges here, on the edge of the vase as well, I'm trying to get kind of a light bleed. It's not exactly refraction. Refraction is where light is kind of bleeding around the edges of a form. That usually happens over a greater distance or with the intensity of skylight. But a little bit of that, where the side edges, although they appear quite graphically stark in contrast to the background, there's actually a little bit of a transitional edge or a transitional value right around the edge of the form. Oh, there's my hair. Really up close. Yes, I have hair, at least for a little longer. Here I am getting the cherry. The cherry, I wish I could have worked on it a little bit more. I guess I could have. I think it achieved the kind of thing I was going for. I gave myself the challenge of really working with only three brushes. One flat, like a 1/2 inch flat, a 1 inch filbert, and then maybe a 1/4 inch filbert. And that's something I like to do every once in a while. It helps me speed along without thinking too much about the actual brushes. The brush strokes can still be varied and full of all kinds of fun edges, but it's just a little bit more wiping and cleaning it off. But just getting too bogged down with what is the right brush for the job can often, become a little too laborious, and it's nice to just simplify. Doing the same thing with your palette is nice too, just getting rid of all that stuff. So here I am nearing the end. I've put that nice drippy mark on the right to make it a little more interesting. Here's the finished piece. There you get to see the upper lip. Hope you enjoyed, and till next time.